Well, it wasn't all that long ago that we learned that Miller College in Battle Creek will be closing, and this has prompted the Western Michigan University minds to start thinking a little bit about how they might be able to help. Here to talk about that and other things too, at WMU is the president of Western Michigan University, Dr. John Dunn. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard. Nice to chat with you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thanks for the time today. So you probably have had this thought in the past, I would imagine, the thought of expanding in Battle Creek.
Well, of course, let me put that in context. We've been providing a variety of programs in Battle Creek for over 100 years. And, of course, we have our aviation program there, well-centered and well-received, and will be there forever. And Kendall Center downtown, we've been offering courses through Kendall Center. But our interest in Miller is really working with Miller and the officials there, the foundation there, to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of the students. And this is an opportunity to do that. We're very pleased with the cooperation and support, and I might also say the same is true of Kellogg Community College. So, well, I think we're on a very good path. The goal there is to simply make sure that we can do what we can to help these students without losing any time to degree completion, and be responsive to them, and certainly respectful of the earlier decisions they've made. Just now is now, and let's move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, imagine that you don't hear about school closings like this too often. When you hear that, it probably makes you shudder a little bit.
Well, it does, and it did read. There is, of course, some national news associated with this. It does happen, but again, the students are the most important individuals in the equation, and I think we have a good plan to help them. Certainly, those within close to degree completion, we define that as 15 credit hours left to complete. We'll make sure that that's done. Those that have more than that, we have various options. And for students that we're planning to apply to Miller for next year, we have waived the application fee and the standard records initiation fee. So we're trying to do what we can to be helpful to those young people, to make sure that they know the world is not over. There are other options, and we can be very helpful to them.
Mm-hmm. As far as programs go, are the Miller programs similar to programs that Western offers?
Yeah, Miller has been primarily health-related, nursing, a little bit of business and education. Of course, we have those in multiple variations. So I think the students will find that the offerings complement quite nicely the path they've been on. And we bring to the table recognition as a national research university with very strong faculty, and I think a good deliverable product in multiple areas. So I'm quite confident working with the students there, working, of course, with Kellogg Community College to make sure the pathway is clear. Let's do what we can to help young people.
Mm-hmm. There's even been stories in the news about Western expanding in other states. I mean, when you think about expansion, what are some of the main concerns you have?
Well, of course, the reason for the expansion is we have a product that is in high demand, and our goal is to make sure that that we deliver where there's a need. The work we've been doing in Florida and Punta Gorda, for instance, relates not only to aviation, but also to a county that has one of the oldest populations with very limited access to any kind of educational services. So it seems strange and a little bit bizarre, but we are delivering our physician assistant program. We have residents there now in their hospitals. They've never had that before in Punta Gorda. And so we have great programs in those areas, and we can be very helpful to people. So, of course, we want to do that. We want to make sure then that the example with the physician assistant program, we need residency slots. So it's a win-win for us, win-win for them. Punta Gorda also is very interested in aviation. They know we have an outstanding program in aviation, and we have a great home in Battle Creek. That is our home, will be our home. But there are opportunities to create a little bit of additional flying time and more favorable year-round weather. So that's attractive to us as we think about Punta Gorda.
Gee, I don't know what you mean about that. Day like today.
Have you looked outside today?
Yes, that's right. So when you think about expansion, sometimes that doesn't just mean in places where you don't have a footprint. It's a medical school now, a collaboration with Cooley Law now. Expansion might mean things like that.
We're trying to think differently, and I think the public expects us to think differently. For instance, our medical school is really a private within a public. So it is not dependent upon, nor does it have any support from the state. It's a different model. Cooley has existed for many, many years, a very fine law program offering. It's different because it responds to the needs of working population as well as the full-time student. But there again, the model is to couple with a private, nonprofit law school, and they've adopted our name. We can work with them in terms of creating additional opportunities, again, for students. The money on this, again, is it's not a state-supported entity. So, I think the public expects all of us to be thinking differently about resources, our state, what we're trying to do, at the same time make sure that we're responsive to the needs of our populations. So I'm very, very pleased and really quite proud of the expansion. We're looking in other areas as well because there's always a need. Physical therapy is another great example of some work and future work that we're doing in that area as well.
Yeah, it's almost as though the writing's been on the wall a while. If you have to expand or you have to think differently, it means you might have to take the state part out of the thinking. Is that true?
That is true. We want to be respectful of our state, and I think that we are. We're very proud of the fact that, for instance, the medical school, that many of our students do come from Michigan and certainly Southwest Michigan, but they also come from, I think the last class had students from 15 different states. Now, that's good for us as well, too, as a state, because we know what we have to offer here in Battle Creek and Kalamazoo and our Southwest region, the state. And it's a great place to live, and we can say that with confidence. Linda and I have lived in many different places. This is a beautiful place to live, and people come here and they say, wow, we didn't know that was possible here. For instance, we're recruiting a very talented individual from the state of New York to lead up some very sophisticated work in our medical school. He went back and announced to his team that there may be some other opportunities here, and is anybody else interested in going to Kalamazoo? He said, the response to that was very favorable, even though they didn't know a lot about Kalamazoo. But we offer a lot here in this area. We need to be proud of who we are and where we are, and we certainly are.
We're talking with Dr. John Dunn, president of Western Michigan University. When we come back in a minute, we'll talk about how easy it will be to invite Miller College students to continue their education at Western. It seems like it's a pretty agile kind of move, but we'll talk about that when we come right back in just a moment. Dr. John Dunn is our guest, president of Western Michigan University. So as you contemplate the Miller College situation, it would seem like you've got momentum in these areas, so it would be easy to just wave those people in. Well,
the first step, we have communicated with the students and sort of outlined our approach to this. We do need to make sure that we have the Higher Learning Commission. They need to review the proposal and give the appropriate approval. We're quite confident that they will, but that's a regulatory body, and therefore we need to connect with them, as we have. So, but again, the approach is to make sure those students who are within 15 credit hours of completion, to make sure that that pathway is smooth, the transition is easy. Students who have more credit hours to complete, we have a plan for them as well. And then transfer students or students who have yet not started but had planned to start, we have an approach for them as well. So I think we're in really good shape. We will have advisors at Miller, working cooperatively with Kellogg Community College to make sure that students and the public at large have good information and good assistance.
When we talk about the potential for Western to expand in Battle Creek in this area, does that mean taking over the building where Miller is and operating classes there?
We have a very good team in conversation, discussion about that. The building is actually owned by Kellogg Community College. The Mulvey Center is the building we're talking about. And so there was discussion there about how best to provide the services, what would be the best location. The attractiveness of the current location, of course, is its proximity to the community college. We like that very, very much because it allows us to work in tandem with them. We also have a site at the Kendall Center, which is downtown, more centrally located. And then, of course, the aviation operation, and we have plans to expand there as well in terms of the physical, the facility footprint. So the question for us from an efficiency standpoint is, well, do you try to operate 3 sites? Do you narrow that down to 2? So we're in good conversations, good discussion about that. And but I've been very pleased with the support and thoughtfulness of the Miller Foundation, as well as, again, Kellogg Community College and leadership there. So I think we'll get there. Some of that is yet to be determined, but we'll try to keep our eye first and foremost on needs of the students and what would work best for them in terms of location and possibilities.
Do you have a time frame in mind that you'd like to have a decision made?
Now and tomorrow. No, that's the president speaking, and I'm always impatient, but I'm very pleased with the progress that has been made. And of course, we are waiting. We'll try and speed the Higher Learning Commission up as quickly as we can. They're in Chicago. They're not that far, their main offices, but hopefully they will respond and move quickly. We need to move quickly in the interest of our students.
One of the things that has made itself obvious over the last several years is that the student has changed. That is to say, a lot of them are working full-time. They need classes at different times of day than might have been the typical business model. This is part of the consideration, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we know that that's true from the standpoint of particularly the Miller population specifically. And so we want to be able to continue to be responsive to that, to not fall back on the model that if you're working full-time, you have to stop working full-time and go to the university. So we want to be responsive to that. We certainly want to work well with our industrial and corporate partners located in Battle Creek and in the region. We have had some experience at going within corporate structures or plants and delivering on-site in those situations as well. So we're very flexible. We're very open to that. Again, the primacy of the message is we need to be as helpful as we can to individuals, students who are trying to advance themselves to get either a degree or additional credits, a certification in some area, and to be very thoughtful about how we approach the needs there.
Recently, KCC announced an expansion at its tech center here in Battle Creek, and there was some inference made that, maybe there's a model to be considered at the BTR Park, for example, and maybe Fort Custer could play into that. Does Western have any interest in that idea?
Sure, absolutely. And, we're very pleased. We've had a long and a very positive relationship with Kellogg Community College, and they've always been very helpful and very responsive. And the goal there is to respect and honor the student that chooses the community college as their first choice, and then couple with them and work with them in any way that we can for those who want to continue into a 4-year degree, to make sure we do that in a way that does not lose time to degree completion or loss of credits and all those kinds of things. We need to be well beyond that, because I don't think we have always served students as well as we might. And again, the message is not about Kellogg Community College. It's not about Western Michigan University. The important ingredient in the equation is the student. And so I think we understand that very well. We need to always demonstrate that in as convincing a way as we can. But I think we're up to the task, and we're very pleased of the effort of our faculty, the faculty senate, and others to be responsive to the needs, in this case, of the Miller students, but to make sure that is kind of the model that we're trying to achieve for all students.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're always happy to talk with you about it. So feel free to check in with us anytime you like.
Hey, it's great to talk to you, Richard, and please stay in contact. And your audience out there, remember my email is just john.dunn@wmich.edu. Comes directly to me, and tend to answer my own, so I'd be happy to respond to any questions anyone might have. So thank you, and have a good day, and hey, it's a great day to be a Bronco.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Slog through the snow carefully out there.
Thank you. Bye.
President of Western Michigan University, Dr. John Dunn, on WBCK.